Welcome back, everyone, to the Final Howl. And it sure is a cold one out right now while we're recording this. And I hope everybody's out doing some calling and fighting this weather and trying to make some stacks of coyotes. And this week, we got on the man that's the master stacking coyotes, Mr. Geoff Nemnich. How we doing, Jeff?
Good, Zach. Great to be back on, buddy.
Man, we're getting blasted with snow. And I think we got about 8-10 inches of snow out there right now and negative temperatures. So I don't know how the weather's treating you right now for calling, but how's the season heading for you right now?
You know, we have a little bit of cold. You know, just recently our lakes froze up, which is pretty unique in this country. You know, normally we have ice, you know, and the coyotes get down on the meadows and down in the brush beds and stuff like that. But we just got that here just within a couple days ago. So yeah, winter finally got here, but I don't know, man. As the older I get, I do like killing coyotes in hoodies. I can tell you that.
Yeah, it definitely makes it more enjoyable. And I mean, it's been definitely brutal, man. But I mean, we're getting to, when we're recording this here, it's the end of January. So, you know, we're getting into that peak time, I guess, the breeding season, you know, and it's kind of always that, to me, it's always that toss up because, man, you know, the coyotes have been getting thinned out. Guys been out hunting them. So there's not as many to call, but at the same time, it seems like the calling gets real fun this time of year for me anyways. I don't know what you kind of see with that or not, or.
Yeah, I mean, for sure. Yeah. I mean, that's, you know, I start getting hit up with questions this time of year of, oh my gosh, I'm struggling, right? Like, we were doing great early and now we're struggling. Well, I mean, you can't just tell me one little sentence like that and expect me to give you a very good answer. I mean, honestly, I don't mind talking to guys. I love visiting with guys about this, but you know, you get those kind of comments and it's kind of like, I don't really know what I'm supposed to tell you because there's lots that go into that, right? I mean, like you said, by the time you get to January in most parts of the country, the coyotes have been getting persecuted for 3 or 4 months. Pretty tough, pretty hard, you know, the popularity of just calling in general, the popularity of thermal hunting, just coyotes dying off just to natural causes, right? I mean, there's just a lot less coyotes now than there were back in October and November, no matter if you've been sitting on places and stuff. Now, you get out west and you get in some big ranch country where coyotes can kind of escape a little bit better, where there's not county roads every mile and things like that. You know, you can still find some spots late season that, you know, will have coyotes on them that have been messed with. But for the most part, man, most guys are dealing with coyotes that are just not there anymore because they're dead or, you know, yeah, the ones that are left have been hunted a little harder. And, pressured is a word that gets thrown around pretty loosely, in my opinion. But, you know, I think there is something to be said for that, you know, this time of year, especially if guys are going back to the same spots over and over and over and over. And by now, you know, who knows how many times you've been to the same little farm trying to kill the same coyote. Yeah, of course he's on to you, man. You know, they're not completely dumb. But like you mentioned, you know, one thing that does benefit us as coyote hunters this time of year is the transition of these coyotes kind of into, you know, sustaining themselves to sustaining the species, right? When it comes to breeding season, and now, you know, those coyotes that are of mating age, one female in heat, you know, she can draw in a bunch of male coyotes to her. You know, they'll find a pair, and then it seems like now too the males will cruise a little bit more, like they're looking for a female in heat. If they don't get picked on this one, they just keep going until they find one that's ready for them. So yeah, a lot of those coyote-based sounds, man, I mean, I use them year round, right? But now is really a time where, you know, yeah, I mean, I'll hammer that hard, especially the pup distresses and the coyote fights. And I don't get too caught up on breeding sounds. I mean, if you're running a Lucky Duck call, there'll be a folder that'll say breeding sounds, right? And to me, those sounds all kind of fall together. So I don't get caught up on using specific breeding sounds, although I will use some like stuck fight and sniff it and stuff like that. But really, to me, they sound more like pup distresses. They have the same kind of characteristics of pup distresses and coyote fights with the little whines and the little screams and, you know, the kind of growling and stuff like that. So I really think that all, to a coyote, I think it's hard for them to really distinguish the difference there. But really, it's just those coyote-based sounds that the coyotes really will react to right now. And that's really what you're keying on, is these aggressive coyotes, you know, that are, you know, little love struck, whatever you want to call it, man. And they're going to come bombing into some of these sounds. And then as you get further on into February too, now the pairs have already established. Now they become even more territorial to that spot that they're in because they know this is going to be their denning site. They need to start, making sure everybody else is out of here because they're going to need, all the resources in that area to sustain that group of pups that they're going to produce. So yeah, this is a fun time for me too, man. I have some really, really, January can be a struggle sometimes, but I've had some really, really fun days in February. That's for sure.
Yeah, I was been kind of curious myself, and it's something I don't know if I've really paid that much attention to it, but this year I've seen guys ask that question a lot, and it's made me think like, man, it does seem like these last few weeks have been kind of slow, I guess, but can you really put your finger on it? Is it, these coyotes are starting to move around more, so they're not typically where they normally are? I don't know. I can't put my finger on it, but I just keep pushing away at it and get calling.
That's all that's all we could do, right? I mean, I think that those kind of hypothetical situations happen all the time, and it's part of the coyote world, man. If you're on forums or Facebook posts or anything like that, guys are always asking questions like that, like, why is this happening? I mean, I think we talked about it the previous podcast I was on with you about moon phases and barometric pressures and all kinds of stuff like that, right? To me, this is one of those it just falls into that. Like, even if we knew, right? Like, even if we knew, what would it do for us? I mean, the coyotes are still there. If I plotted out every coyote that I've ever killed over the last 30 years and put them in 10-minute increments from sun up to sundown, I've killed coyotes and multiple coyotes in every one of those increments all day long, right? So in all different moon phases and all different temperatures and all different months. I mean, so it's not like you can't do it. I think we all agree that there are certain times where the coyotes just move better and everything just clicks a little bit better, right? I mean, we've all been on days like that or nights like that where it just seems like they're just coming from everywhere. And other nights, a little struggle. We'll never put our finger on it. But like you said, all we can really do is just hunt, right? I mean, just get out there and get after it, man.
Yeah, that's when we, it's been about 3 weeks or so now. Brandon and I went out, man, we had it like a light switch kicked on around midnight for us, and we ended up getting 10 that night. And it's like nothing could go wrong. Like every stand we went to, you get set up, and within 2 or 3 minutes of rabbit distress, doubles. And it was a great night. It was awesome. And then it just kind of slowed back down, didn't really do much, see much. And I, just like anybody else, like that curiosity, it's like, man, we had this weather front come through. Well, everything was very similar the other night to how it was that night with the wind speed, the pressure. Like you look at all that stuff like, oh man, I bet it's going to be another good night calling. And we seen one coyote out of 25 stands the other night. So it's like, this goes back to like what I've always heard you say. It's like, man, you think it all lines up and it doesn't. And then,
yeah, I mean, how much of that's coincidence, right? I mean, that night, did you just finally get to spots that had coyotes and you finally got set up on coyotes and then it just all worked out and everything was lining up and then all of a sudden you just got out of coyotes? I mean, it could be as simple as that, right? I mean, it could have nothing to do with anything other than you just got out of coyotes. I mean, obviously, if you had coyotes bombing in the first 2 to 3 minutes on every stand, you were just getting lucky and you were setting up right where they were. I mean, that's just the way it is, right? So, yeah, I always wonder, I mean, it very well could. There could have been something happen environmentally that we'll never know, that just the coyotes said, you know what? I'm not going to run in from 300-400 yards anymore. I'm not moving. I'm not doing anything. I find that kind of hard to believe that coyotes would just automatically say, no, I'm not going to move. I'm not going to come to a call anymore just because something happened when they were an hour ago, right? To me, I really think it's just coincidence, and that when that happens to you, you finally just got out of coyotes. So all we can do is just keep on moving, man. Just keep on hunting, keep on finding spots, and those nights when it is working and when you are finding coyotes, that's when you, like you said, you stack up double-digit coyotes, or during the day you get the elusive, double-digit 1% club kind of a hunt. But yeah, you can't do that just sitting in the same spot, wishing and hoping for something to happen. I think you got to actively pursue them and get after them.
Yeah, it's all a numbers game. I mean, if you can just, that's the way I've always looked at it was, I mean, I try to make the same 10, 15 stands when I go out, or not the exact same spot, but in my mind, it's like I'm going to make 10, 12-minute sets, and I want to make 10, 15 stands tonight. It's either I'm going to be on them or I'm not. I mean, I've had great nights and terrible nights, but I don't know. So I guess if you kind of curious, like how your season's going for you so far this year, what you've been seeing out there, and any cool,
it's been good. Yeah, I mean, so far I'm up to like 273 coyotes since October. It's few, right? I mean, 24 of those are nighttime. The rest are all daytime coyotes. So that's something I always shoot for. I mean, every season for the last 10 or so, I've always tried to at least get to 300 daytime coyotes. And that's not me personally shooting, right? I always kind of clarify this for guys. I mean, that's me. If I'm on stand, I do a lot of stuff where I let other guys shoot them and things like that, whether it's filming for the last stand, in-person coyote classes, some other guided stuff I do, just hunting with buddies and my kids and stuff like that. So I always count it. If I'm on stand and we kill a coyote, I'll count it towards that total. So I always figure if I was there by myself, I probably could have got most of those killed, maybe a few more even, but so it evens out. So yeah, I'm right on pace there to kind of finish to where I normally do. I still got, a month and a half of coyote hunting left. So, that'll be able to push well up into the 300s, hopefully. If February pans out like it normally does, like I said, with making all the last passes through these ranches and all the properties that I've hunted, once now, some of them maybe twice. So yeah, now I'm going back in there for that last time of the season, just to try to hunt it one more time, and especially with the changing of the coyote dynamic. But I've had some really cool trips in the last month. We were down in New Mexico filming for the last stand. Those episodes are all kind of coming out right now, so you've probably been watching them if you're a fan of the show there on YouTube. That was a good trip. We didn't slaughter them like we did the year before, when we had a record-setting 19 coyote day on camera, and we were hyped up about it. We thought we were, going to be able to pull that off again. But, we just had kind of average coyote hunting days. I think we killed 6 the first day, 5 the second day, and 6 again the second. So, probably by anybody's standard, pretty solid day, right? To go out and kill 5 or 6. But for us, we were kind of disappointed a little bit. Obviously, we were hoping for a little bit bigger. I know Felipe, we were hunting down with him again. And I know he was a little bummed about it. But, that's hunting. That's kind of what I had to tell him, too. Sometimes you get your expectations a little too high. And then you really just set yourself up for disappointment, which, like I said, it's fun, right? You shouldn't be disappointed about a 5 or 6 coyote day. So, but it was cool. We got to see some new ranches and got to hang out and hunt with fun guys, and that's what I love the most about it, is just sharing those experiences with dudes that love it as much as I do, So after that, I was out in Washington State, so I got to add that state to my list of states. That was pretty cool. We were filming for exclusive episodes for the Last Stand Coyote class. So yeah, that was unique country. It's kind of central Washington. It was a long drive, about a 17-hour drive for me to get up there, but just a really cool mix of pasture and agriculture. I mean, it had feedlots, it had orchards, it had pivots, but then it had pasture country with yellow grass and sagebrush and lava rock and rocky rims, and just a really cool, diverse mix of country. But got to meet up and hunt some guys I never had hunted with before. And, they were, once again, just fun guys to hunt with. It was great to spend time in the truck with them driving around, and they had a really good plan set up when we went out there and kind of showed me what we were going to do. And we hunted it. And I think we killed, 20 coyotes in 3 days on camera. We had a chance the last day to get to the 1% club. They had never had a 10+ coyote day. We finished with 9. We had a few coyotes in that 150-yard range that, dodged a few bullets that we never got. So we were close, but yeah, that was a cool trip. But yeah, from here on out, just finishing up some in-person coyote classes here. I got 3 of those here over the last month. Got guys coming from all over the country for those. And then, speaking of cold, we're going to where there's opposite of cold. Here next week, we're heading down to Sonora, Mexico, to film some Last Stand episodes. So, yeah, great time to get out of the cold and head down there. I think it's going to be high 70s. Each day we're going to be down there. So I'm pretty pumped for that. I think that's. I always talk about the elusive 20 coyote daytime hunt, right? I mean, to me, that's like the holy grail of coyotes. And I think there's some parts in the continental U.S. you could make it happen, but for sure, I think Mexico is probably your best bet to do it. Just because nobody messes with coyotes down there. They're obviously their fur's not worth any money. There's just they're tougher to hunt because it's flat desert country. But there's a pile of them down there. So going to be going down with a mule deer outfitter down there. So kind of do some kind of more like predator management for them, right? They're looking to grow mule deer. They grow some massive mule deer bucks down in that country. So yeah, they're wanting all the fun recruitment they can get their hands on. So, they said the coyotes are pretty bad. So yeah, well, it'll be fun. Those will be actually the Last Stand episodes that'll come out towards about the middle of February, right through the first part of March. So I'm going to take my oldest son Creighton down with me on that. And so nonetheless, it should be a pretty badass experience nonetheless to go down there and check it out. So
with all of these, man, it's awesome. You get to hunt all these different states in this area. I mean, obviously going to Mexico, which is awesome. I mean,
yeah,
when you're looking at these hunts and going into them, what's your mental prep going into this? That's something I'm always curious of. I kind of like that side of coyote hunting is just, the strategic part of it. So what's going through your head when you're getting ready? Let's use Mexico for an example. You're going out of the country to hunt these things. What's going through your head? What kind of planning are you going through to go to them trips?
Yeah. Well, first off, I always tell my boys this, man, you can't have badass stories if you don't do badass trips, right? You can't, you know what I'm saying? You got to get out of your comfort zone. I mean, I could kill all the coyotes I wanted to right here in western Nebraska all season long, right? But for me, part of coyote hunting, I just love seeing the country. I love, trying to test myself against coyotes in other part of the country. Not that the coyotes are different, right? To me, there's no difference between an east and a west coyote. What the difference is the terrain that you're hunting them in, the access that you're dealing with is completely different, So understanding all that and trying to mold it into still being able to kill coyotes, that's what I really love. I love the challenge of that, So yeah, when we go on these trips, I mean, the first part is obviously the access, right? I mean, that's really where it starts. And usually we rely on somebody, whether it's buddies that I know that I've hunted with before, maybe friends of friends. And I start with conversations with them, and obviously I get tons of invites, just in the position I'm at from Facebook and all Instagram and everybody. Hey, if you're down here, come and hunt with me, which is awesome. I unfortunately don't have enough, days in the year to make that all happen. So, but when we film a trip, there's a lot of expense that's involved in that, right? I mean, we're hiring up camera guys, there's travel. So ultimately you got to make sure it's going to be, you never ultimately know how great the hunting is going to be, but there are some things as far as, when you're saying, hey, if we're going to come hunt with you, what's the land access look like? What's the hunting pressure look like? Some guy that says, yeah, I've killed 50 coyotes off this ranch in the last 2 months. You ought to come hunt with me. Well, yeah, can we go probably kill a few coyotes on there? Yeah, I'm sure we could, but is it what we want to, spend 10 grand on travel and filming crew and all that kind of stuff to go film a couple coyotes? No, I mean, so the reality of it is, yeah, we're hunting on stuff that's usually, I'm not going to say virgin, but usually they haven't been out there slaughtering the coyotes off of from the previous 3 months, right? And, and a lot of these guys hunt coyotes. Some of them aren't near as serious as we are, but they all love it. So yeah, when we show up, the great part about that is these guys already have access lined up. There's just no way I could pull it off to say, hey, I'm going to travel out to Washington. I need 3 extra days, so I need to make it an 8-day trip now instead of 5 because I need to go knock on doors and I need to try to find all this access to film. It's just not doable. It's just not feasible, right? So yeah, when we get out there, everything's usually lined up. We'll meet up with these guys and put together a plan. And a lot of times they'll just say, hey, this is what we got. And I kind of rely on them as far as where the access points are, where the roads are at and things like that, where we're going. And then from there, I usually take it from there and say, okay, hey, this is what we're going to do. Maybe bouncing some ideas off of them of where they've hunted before, what looks good. But there's a lot of times we'll walk into a setup where they've made before and we'll sit in a completely different spot just because I feel like it's a setup, for whatever reason. So, I love that, when we can just go into an area and we can bounce ideas off each other and we kind of figure out, what we need to do to kill coyotes. And then you throw the camera aspect on it, makes it a lot tougher. But as far as my mindset going into it, probably more planning way ahead that takes place earlier in the summer. When I sit down and I say, okay, we need to have this many filming trips. Where do you want to go? And I think the challenging part about that too is I have places where we could go every single year where the coyote hunting would be really good. For those reasons I just got done talking about. And, but I really feel like you end up just killing the same coyote over and over and over, right? And I feel like from the get-go, I wanted to show as much diversity as we could and still be able to kill coyotes. So I try to plan new trips, mixed in with the schedule, and then try to incorporate Rick. Rick gets crazy busy selling e-calls from about Thanksgiving on. So it's very tough for him to get away for 5 days on a filming trip. So try to get a couple early where he can make it. Cause I know he's probably not gonna be able to make it later on. So yeah, lots of planning early on. And then just, fingers crossed that the weather's not going to totally screw us over, cause that's the tough part too. When you plan these trips and I got camera guys flying in from Virginia and Tennessee and we're making drives and everybody's coming together. The weather is what it is, man. And you've seen that on The Last Stand. Sometimes we're dealing with 30-mile-an-hour winds and we just hunt. And some days we hit it perfect and the weather's great and coyotes are, running in from a long ways, So yeah, that's, I'm not going to say there's not a lot of planning that goes into it right at the very, very end, more planning at the front end, kind of just getting everything lined up and then, a little bit of talking once we get a little closer for those trips.
I know something I found interesting, watching one of I think it was the last Stand episode there. And it's an interesting dynamic. Like you guys were talking about changing your strategy, like from the first night or first day to the second day for the camera guys.
Yep.
For the footage reasons. And
yeah.
I think that's an aspect that like a lot of guys maybe don't understand. Cause I do it at night. So it's a lot different than during the day. But when I started trying to make, videos, better content, getting these things coming in so guys just aren't seeing just rapid kills, like that adds a whole new dynamic to it. So like, how do your camera guys adjust? Like what's that process like thinking about all of that on top of getting on top of coyotes?
Yeah. I mean, it's one thing. Ultimately, I always tell everybody when we're hunting is our goal is to kill coyotes. I mean, that's what we're out here to do. To me, I always feel like the secondary part is getting the footage because I think if everything lines up right, it's all going to take care of itself, right? So our main goal is still to kill coyotes. But yeah, I mean, there's some parts of the country we go to where, the typical way we would kill coyotes, especially down in that desert country, where it's flat, there's a lot of grass mixed with mesquites and things like that. Visibility is not great. Yeah, if you're standing up, it looks like you can see for 5 miles. But once you sit down and get established, to where you're setting up, you can't see very far because the coyote's only a couple feet off the ground, right? And the grass doesn't have to be very tall. So yeah, we can get in situations like that if we were just fun hunting or contest hunting or whatever it is and bury in with some shotguns and blast coyotes all day long doing that. But you're not seeing the coyote till they're right there, right? And that doesn't make for great footage, And there's times we have to set up like that regardless. So yeah, like on that situation that you were talking about, we were down there in New Mexico and I just felt like, we weren't getting footage. And I kind of understood early on that the place wasn't loaded with coyotes. I mean, we thought it was going to be, that the coyote densities were going to be thick and they just weren't in this area. And I don't know if that was rabbits, lack of rabbits and things like that. But so I knew we weren't going to get just tons and tons of opportunity all day long. It was going to be, 5 or 6 like we had. So I wanted to try to make each one of those count to at least where you can get a little footage because, there's a big difference between just getting the kill shot and getting 5 to 10 seconds of footage of the coyote before the kill shot, right? To me, that makes a huge difference in the overall quality of the production. So, and there's a lot to be said about that too. And not only do you have to have just a touch of visibility, but you have to have some camera guys that are on top of it, right? I mean, if they're looking for coyotes, I mean, if it takes them 5 seconds to find a coyote in the camera and get on it, well, that was 5 seconds that could have had footage of the coyote coming to the cult, right? And very rarely do you ever hear us saying, are you on it? Are you on it? Are you on it? No, it's just like we trust, everybody's doing their job, and I just know that they're going to be on it. So you don't hardly ever hear us saying, are you on it? Are you ready? Can you see it? We just, hey, there he is. We know when to shoot. We know the camera guy is going to be on it. And that just comes with experience. Luckily the guys we have this season, Jake and Cam, from our Terra Media, they've been running with us. Jake filmed with us all last season as well. So he's really 2 seasons deep. And it's just like anything, right? Whether it's hunting coyotes or anything, just being out there and seeing coyotes, he's an extra set of eyes for us on stand, helps us look for coyotes. I mean, he spots coyotes before other guys a lot of times, and that helps him get on coyotes quicker. And then Cam, filmed with us 2 seasons ago, and he wasn't with us last season, but was back, So yeah, that really helps when you got guys that just kind of understand the program, understand what we're looking for, understand, and they're just like us. At some point, they start to get the idea of, okay, looking out across that stand, well, this is probably where the coyote's going to show up. That's kind of where I'm going to get things turned and get things ready. And, this is where a coyote could surprise us real fast. So I'm going to get the camera pointed there, because obviously when the coyote shows up real quick and I got to swing the camera over, that's just a lot of movement, lenses and stuff like that, especially if we're dealing with like a south wind that day and we're kind of looking back to the south, and the sun's on us and there's glare off of lenses and stuff like that. That's all kinds of stuff that we have to take into account. But, it definitely adds another element, and as you found out too, right? You get out there and trying to film stuff. It just adds a little more element. It adds a little more patience. As you see on this last episode, sometimes patience, we have a little too much patience with the, with the cameras, where in a normal situation, you'd just be smoking coyotes, but you're like, okay, well, let's let them keep coming. And sometimes it works out really good and you get some really badass stuff and you see some stuff you never would have. But then other times it bites you in the ass a little bit and you're like, damn, we should have just shot him. He got in too close. He saw us. He ran off, and either you end up having to just shoot him in the ass, which isn't great footage, or you end up missing them and they're gone, kind of a deal. So yeah, there's a whole lot of different aspects into it when you start throwing the camera in, that's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, you're throwing the camera in. I mean, well, like you got 2 camera guys. Then there's usually always 3 to 4. Usually always 4 of you with guns, right? So you got 6 guys that you're propping up on the side of a hill. Like there's, I just think that's a very interesting thing, because like, man, it's just tough enough with yourself, with just your scent going out there, your movement. And then each person you add, just compiles. And then when you're running a camera, that's why I was curious, kind of like what your camera guys, like how long they've done it, how long they've coyote hunted. Because like, you just can't be up there just spinning, flailing that camera all around. You've got to be on top of it. Like, that's just a very interesting thing. Like, that footage you guys get it's just unreal, because there's a lot that's got to come together to make that happen.
Yeah. Yeah, and we don't do anything. I mean, our camera guys aren't hiding up there in ghillie suits. I mean, they're just sitting there in normal stuff like we are, and we'll try to position and angles, and that's a cool part too. So when we do get some of those cool over the shoulder shots and things like that, we'll try to envision how the stand's going to unfold, potentially where the coyote could end up, and, I'll kind of try to put the camera guys in angles to where they can get some unique shots and things like that. But yeah, ultimately, there's always a bunch of us. I mean, at the bare minimum, there's usually, 4 of us on a stand. And a lot of these trips, I'm all about more the merrier, man. I mean, I like I said, to me, this is all about the experience and sharing it with guys, especially as you get older, just kind of something. The killer, I still love to kill coyotes, right? But, just sharing that experience with people, and to me is important. And, so I'm always about more the merrier. Like, if we go on a trip and, if you're hosting us on a trip and you got a buddy that wants to come, hell yeah, bring him along, man. I don't care. Hell, well, we're driving around in 2 trucks all day long. And I mean, if you can hide 1 truck, you can hide 2. I always feel like if you can hide 2 guys, you can hide 6. So, you got to get a little creative sometimes. I mean, you got to use the remote. You got to get the sound out away from me. And like I talk about, just, whether I'm teaching coyote hunting or whatever, the coyotes are keyed in on the sound. And if you don't give them a reason to look over at you, you could be sitting there in a Santa suit. There could be 8 of you hiding on the hillside. The coyote is focused in on the sound. That's where his attention's at. And I feel like they have like a, 30, 40 yard swath of vision that's, looking at that. And if you're not within that and you're not moving, half the time they don't even know you're there, whether if there's 7 or 8 of you hiding on the hillside. So, yeah, I really do like that. And, like I said, I hope it challenges some guys because I hear that a lot over the years. Oh, that's too many guys. I'm not going to take my kid because he moves around too much, or I'm not going to take and I'm like, come on, guys, that's just an excuse. Like, load the pickup up with your buddies and go kill some coyotes, man, because you can do it. You can get away with it. No matter, I've hunted everywhere filming, and we've gotten away with hunting with 6, 7 guys on 8. I mean, you name it, all those places I've been. So you can make it happen. Just sometimes got to get a little creative and maximize that range on the remote on your e-call. So
what's some of the, I guess, like craziest moments you've had with the camera guys out there, like just getting everything set up when you're hunting in those situations there, like just like what's something wild that you've had to deal with the camera guys? And because that's a different dynamic. So there's stuff I'm sure that happens that, or as you were learning, I guess, years ago when you started filming with all this, just what's some crazy stories you have filming?
Well, before the story, that's one thing what we do that's a little bit different than probably most predator shows out there is we've always ran 2 camera guys. And right from the get-go, when I took over the last stand, 8, 9 years ago, that's what I told him. I said, we're not going to be reenacting anything. When you see a close up of the dude flipping the safety off and, close up of me pointing over here and saying, Coyote, that's all reenactment. That's all stuff that's filmed after the fact and they edit it to look like that. Right. I said, no, we're going to do stuff real time. We're going to hunt exactly how we normally hunt. And that's why I wanted 2 cameras, because if we have a downwind guy that can see some stuff, I want a camera to be able to go with him. And then coyote happened fast. So I'm like, I don't expect my camera guys to get on every coyote, but if we have 2 cameras running, at least one of the 2 is going to get on it. Right. And, if maybe both of them get it and we get 2 different cool angles of it, stuff like that. And then we have all the audio, the extra audio that we can pick up, because to me, that's some of the best moments is the banter afterwards and, just the shit talking and, that kind of fun stuff, the experience part of it, so I wanted to always capture all that. But, on top of that, I mean, I don't necessarily know anything crazy. I mean, last year when we were down in Arizona, that was 2 years ago, we were running kind of on this little rim. We're kind of setting up, there was a big valley down below us, mesquites and things. That's where we thought the coyotes were going to come from. Pretty calm. We had the call down below. I was hunting with Dustin Patterson. He had the shotgun. And down in that country, when you get into that desert country, the ground's so hard. A lot of times when you can't see great, you end up hearing the coyotes before you see them sometimes when they get close. I mean, it almost sounds like a horse galloping up on your, and it like instantly, if you hear that, it's usually within a second or 2, you end up seeing the coyote or he comes running in behind you or whatever. Well, this coyote came from on top behind us. And at the last second, it was too late. It was already running too hard. And it jumped right kind of almost over the left shoulder of the camera guy, and I was only like 5 feet to his left and I heard it. So I start to turn, because I heard it and I turned around, and right about that time, the coyote comes over the ledge and the camera guy's right there, and he kind of did a kind of a weird bank at the last minute and launched itself off, hit the ground and took off running down below us towards the call. I mean, it wasn't going for the call at this point. It was just getting the hell out of there. And Dustin ended up rolling it up, but that stuff, we didn't get it on camera, but I mean, we barely got the kill just because it happened so fast. But yeah, when you're spread out like that, I mean, we've been down in that country where the camera guy has a full frame shot of a bobcat sitting there, and I'm sitting 4 feet or 8 feet off to the side, and I can't see it because just all the little angles through the brush. We've had some stuff like that happen. But yeah, I mean, that's really the craziest thing that's probably ever happened. Our camera guys are good dudes, man. I mean, we grind them hard. I mean, it's no joke when you're watching The Last Stand and I'm like, man, I'm tired, man. We whooped it today. We were cranking out stands. I mean, they're right there with us, packing their camera all day long. So props to those dudes, because they could easily be sitting in a duck blind or, filming with some waterfowl stuff or sitting, somewhere else where it'd be a heck of a lot easier. But yeah, but every now and then we get some wild stuff.
Yeah, that's one thing I've learned, and I filmed in the past just for ourselves a little bit of, daytime footage or whatever. But man, it's doing it all the time. That just, I guess I've grown a whole new respect for guys that create like superior content doing this, and the camera guys, because man, that's just a whole new level in my eyes of coyote hunting. Like, it's already tough enough, like just playing in the stands and, you with that many people or whatever, and then you start throwing all this other stuff in the mix, and to keep it all on par, like it's just nuts to me. It's crazy.
Yeah. And one of the cool things to me is, so if you're watching The Last Stand, you'll see me say, okay, hey, this is our fourth stand, this, whatever, we've got an indoor stand, we're looking at this. I do that on every single stand all day long, right? That ain't me reenacted. That's just what we do because I want it to be real. I want it to be, authentic and exactly what I'm thinking at the time. Here we go. And then if a coyote happens to come in that stand, great, we got it. If not, we never use it, and that's kind of a cool aspect of that too, that you start to, I don't know, you get comfortable in front of the camera at some point, right? We'll hunt with guys and that have never been in front of the camera before. And you're right, it does add a unique situation to it, right? Like we all shoot coyotes, right? But a lot of times I try to talk through it, which is not natural. It's not natural to be talking as a coyote's coming in, but I try to narrate like, okay, hey, wait, we got one coming in, and try to narrate it just to kind of give it that extra element of, okay, this is what we're doing. This is what's happening. And then right when we kill a coyote, I always tell the guys, hey, just swing the camera over on me. I'll give a quick update of where we're at in the stand. Hey, we just killed a coyote. And you see it sometimes, hell, they're at the camera on me and we're still hunting. And, here comes another coyote bombing in. It's like, oh shit, the camera gets to turning and stuff like that, So that's one thing I've always really wanted to do is just try to make it authentic and as real as possible, that this is exact. Because I think that's how everybody will relate to that. They'll watch that and they'll say, okay, yeah, that's what I'm saying in my head, or that's what I'm doing in my head. It's just now, it's coming out on camera. So
yeah, I mean, you touched on a good point there. Like when you're talking about, not wanting to reenact, so every stand you're saying that, that's how I try to do it. We're lugging the cameras, everything out every time. And, I don't know how many, like I found out real quick, like just to do a, 3 kill 20-minute episode, you've got to do it halfway decent. I mean, you'll have 2 hours worth or a night's worth. I mean, there's times you're out calling, you might have 100 hours worth of footage and you're only going to use 30 minutes of it, 40 minutes of it. Because like you said, because you don't want to make it, because I think you can kind of tell, since I've started doing a lot of editing myself and all that, and you go back and you look at a lot of stuff, man, you could about tell real quick. It's like, well, how many cameras does a guy have out there to get the safety click? How are you making all these movements and that coyote just still standing there pretty at, 100 yards? But not picking on anybody. Everybody's got their style, but it's just, man, it's a different game. But it's fun. I mean, I love doing it since I started doing it. Like nighttime's tougher because you don't get the real pretty footage. I mean, you'll never get that hunting at night with thermal. There's only so much you can do, but try to do that one extra thing. And I mean, I know there's times, man, at the end of the night, Brandon will be like, man, because you're carrying a tripod, you're carrying your guns, you're carrying the calls, and you got the cameras, the tripod for the camera, and 2 guys lugging all this stuff out. You set it up, film, nothing happens, tear it down, walk, sometimes, you might only have a 50-yard walk back to the buggy or truck, but, a lot of times you're walking 100, 200 yards with all this crap. But it's like about the time I don't take it or don't do it, that's when something epic happens and you end up kicking yourself in the ass for not taking it or doing it. But
yeah, it's probably the toughest thing for me to juggle is when I'm out there hunting, my coyote killing brain turns on, right? And I'm like, I want to go. And you do have to slow it down a little bit just because it takes a few extra minutes for the camera guy to get set up. So there's a lot of times I'm sitting there kind of twiddling my thumbs like, oh, come on, I want to get going. I want to get hit play, but you got to make sure he gets set up and ready to go, because it may be one of those stands coyote pops up in 30 seconds and then you just rushed it and we didn't get it right. And then, then he swings the camera over on me and I got to talk, for a minute or so, 2 minutes, whatever, talking about the stand. Okay, then we can finally get going. Then if we killed something, I can't just run out there and get to the next stand. We got to talk about, explain a little bit, go get some footage of us dragging the coyote back to the truck, whatever it might be, So it does slow things down somewhat. That's the challenge for me sometimes. I got to tell myself, hey, we're out here on this particular hunt to get footage, even though we're out killing coyotes, you still gotta slow it down a little bit and get what you need,
That's a tough mindset to get into. I struggle with that all the time. I don't think I kill the volume of coyotes, but I might hunt all night. The other night was a good example. We made 12, 13 stands, ended up shooting one coyote, but that thing popped out like, he was like 60 yards when he popped out. By the time you get swung over, hit record on the scope, shoot him, because he's standing right there looking right at you, so it's like you don't have time to wait for footage, him to work the call. So you got 5 seconds worth, and it's like, well, that's not, you're going to make a reel or something out of it, I guess, but nobody really finds that, I don't think, quite entertaining to watch a 10-minute show just to see a 5-second kill, don't get to see it play out.
Well, one thing for me too, I think, if you're sitting here listening to this saying, oh, I could really care less about filming. I don't have any interest in doing a YouTube channel, or I don't have any interest in putting stuff on social media. For me, just the filming side, there's nothing better than like these memories, like these hunts are immortalized, right? Like they're always going to be around that I've been on, back in like season 2, I believe, when my youngest son killed his first coyotes. That's always going to be there, man. He's 11 now. We'll go back and watch that episode, and he's just this little 5-year-old shit out there talking how he killed his first double, To me, I just think when I'm like 75, 80 and I can't go hunting anymore, I can look back on these and those memories are all just right there, and that's what we are. We're in the day and age of technology where you're able to do that. So I would invite everybody just to film some stuff, if nothing else, just for your own, your own database, store it on the cloud, store it on a, computer. And then if you ever want to do this someday, but you have it, right? Nowadays you can just take your phone. Phones are good enough just to film with, right? Hey, but it does take you have to take the time to do it. That's the biggest thing. We all get in a hurry and want to say, okay, I got to go, I got to kill. I want to get out there. And it can be a pain in the ass, especially after you made like 4 or 5 or 6 or 8 or 10 blank stands in a row. I relate it to packing the shotgun, about the time you don't, that's when but the time you said, we've been packing the camera and doing all this crap. And then you leave it in the truck, or you don't pull your phone out to film. And then that's when you get the good one coming in. Right. So you definitely got to be dedicated to it. You got to commit to it. But like I said, even if you're not wanting to do YouTube or social media, I think it's awesome just to film this stuff for your own personal, just recollection down the road.
Yeah, you nailed it right on the head there. That for me is the coolest part, because since I've started doing this, it's like, man, anybody, 100 years from now, 200 years from now, your great grandkids or whatever can go back and look and be like, man, that was cool. Look how they used to do it. Or to me, that's neat, which I've always been fascinated to that side my whole life. But that's the coolest part about it. You can go back, my nephew, I got his first deer hunt on film, sitting there with him. He thinks it's just the coolest thing ever. He can go back and watch it.
Oh yeah.
And relive that moment. It's awesome.
Yeah.
To me.
Yep. Yeah. How many times you're sitting there, my grandpa would be telling me about stories about him, and he'd have this deer rack that had said 1959 on it, and he would tell me the story about it. But how cool would that have been if he'd have been able to whip out a little video and say, hey, check this out. This is the actual video of me out there hunting this deer, or whatever it may be, that'd be cool. So yeah, down the road, obviously, our generations will have that opportunity. So I think it's pretty sweet.
Yeah. I've seen there's a couple companies out there that make those QR codes, and guys are taking those QR codes and they're uploading I don't know how they work, but to where you can scan them and then it'll take you to the video of the hunt or whatever. So they're putting them on the back like deer mounts and fish or, whatever you want to put them on. And I thought, man, that's pretty dang neat, because
Oh yeah.
If you're a guy that's got a lot of taxidermy or whatever, because like you said, like I've got some racks or whatever on my wall from family to where it's like, I mean, it'd be cool. Like you can hear the story, but another generation removed from that, you're not going to remember to where you could scan that and actually watch it unfold.
Yeah.
It's a timeless thing. I mean, you said it just right.
Yep. It's pretty cool, man. So yeah, anybody that's wanting, man, like I said, you can do it with your phone. That's really how easy it honestly is,
It really is. And I also, I guess, want to kind of touch on too. I have started kind of going down this rabbit hole of I'm going to end up getting probably a 22. I don't know if I'm going to get a 22 arc or a 22 Creed. And I started shooting those ELDVTs out of the 6.5. And I know from
I saw your little video you clipped on that. Damn, that thing like just
I quickly
spray out the backside.
Yeah, that they hit way different than the VMAX. I think like them things punch hard. And I guess I'm kind of going to go down that road of 22 arc or 22 Creed. I want to go back to 22 caliber and I want to shoot that ELDVT. And I guess my kind of question towards you is, because you have a lot of experience. You've been a gas gun guy you've said it a lot, since the Clinton ban. That's been your thing. I guess besides the follow-up shot, I understand that. What is kind of the bigger advantage you see that you've noticed running a gas gun versus a bolt gun, besides the follow-up shot?
Yeah, I mean, that's probably the main one, right? I mean, I think if in your boat, if you're trying to decide between a 22 arc or a 22 Creedmoor, I think it boils down to, have you been shooting a bolt gun at coyotes for the most part, or have you been shooting an AR at coyotes for the most part? Right? To me, that's where it's at.
Yeah, I mean, I've always ran a bolt gun, but to me, I've opened my mind up to this world, and it's like, maybe I am missing out a little bit. Is there that much of a benefit? Because if I'm going to go with, a gas gun, and I'll have to run the 22 arc, right?
Yeah,
I think so.
Yep.
I guess I don't want to rule either out. I was just why I had you. I just wanted to see maybe what your thoughts were.
Ballistically, a 22 Creedmoor's better. All right, it's going to be faster. I mean, that's the main component, right? It's just going to be faster, flatter shooting rifle than a 22 arc. But you can't get a 22 Creedmoor in an AR-15 platform, right? So that's where the 22 arc comes into play. It's pretty legit out of the AR-15 platform, right? More so better than a 223, right? So yeah, that's really what I usually tell people is this. If you've spent the last 10 years hunting coyotes with a bolt gun, you've probably been hunting with fast caliber, 22 250, 243, something probably pushing, mid 3,000 feet per second kind of a bullet, And a lot of guys jumped on the AR bandwagon over the last 5 or 6 years, right? And they probably at the time were getting just 223s. Maybe they got something crazy, like a 22 Nosler, 224 Valkyrie. Maybe they, just recently they got the 22 arc. But unless you're willing to totally dive in 100% and commit to the AR, most guys, I feel like after talking to them, they're not overly impressed with their AR because they were used to shooting these faster, flatter rifles with their bolt gun, and you just don't get that in the AR-15. So yeah, to me, if you're going to make the AR-15 work, you got to go cold turkey. You got to commit to the AR-15 and say, you know what, I'm willing to sacrifice some velocity that I normally had with my bolt gun in order to get some of these faster follow-up shots, bigger mag capacity, whatever you want to call it. Just and that's really the main thing, right? I mean, accuracy is going to be about the same. I mean, there was a myth about ARs were just not as, dialed in as a bolt gun, but yeah, they're just as accurate. So yeah, you're going to find that it's just a matter of, can I commit, and if you're going to jump back and forth from a 22 Creedmoor to a 223 to a 6.5 Creedmoor, to me, you're never probably going to be really, really good at killing coyotes because all those guns, probably have different triggers. They all have different velocities. You probably don't have the same scopes on all of them. I mean, it's just a different mix every time you're behind the gun. So what I tell people is this, man, if you want to get really good at killing coyotes, pick one gun. And that's up to you. Like I said, you want to go 22 Creed, you want to shoot your old 22-250 you've had forever, 204, 6.5 Creedmoor. I don't really care. It doesn't really matter to me. They're all gonna do the job, but just get really good at it. Understand the ballistics. You'll start training your mind as far as where your running leads come into play because you're consistently shooting the same speed of bullet. So for you personally, man, I don't know. I almost feel like you'd be one of the guys that you'd get behind that 22 arc and you'd have a coyote out there and for some reason you'd miss it. And this is what happens, when you miss a coyote like that, right? What's the first thing that gets blamed?
The gun.
Yeah. The gun, right?
Yeah, that's probably different.
So this is what happens is guys switch. They make the switch to an AR. They shoot a coyote. It runs off. Then they're like, oh, the goddamn gun, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, you probably just put a bad shot on it. Okay. And then they go, no, I'm tired of that. I'm going back to my trusty bolt, blah, 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 whatever it may be, right? And then they don't really give it a fair chance to work for them. So that's why I say, if it was, I know we all like to collect guns and have a pretty good selection of rifles, so I'm not saying trade your gun off, but honestly, that'd probably be the best thing is whatever coyote gun you're using now, if you're going to switch, just trade it in on the other one. And then you don't even have it so you don't even are forced not to even use it and then just get really good with that, But the 22 Creedmoor is impressive. That's where Rick shoots on a lot of the Last Stand videos. He's running that 22 Creed bolt gun. I think he's got his loaded with like 53 grain VMAXs in them, hand loads. That thing's going like 4,000 feet per second with those little bullets. Hornady now is loading a 69 ELD VT factory for the 22 Creedmoor, which I think would be just an absolute hammer of coyotes. I think it's still pushing mid 3,000s, 3,500 if I had to take a stab at it, somewhere in there, which that bullet going that fast. What's that 100 pushing out of your 6.5 Creedmoor?
I believe it's 32. Around 32. I've never put a chronograph on it, but I think what they're saying like around 3,200.
Yeah. And that 62 ELD VT out of my 22 arc, it's going about 3,150 out of an 18-inch barrel, which is just a hammer. But obviously, if you start increasing speed with that a little bit more, it's pretty nasty. So yeah, man, I don't know. I don't think you're going to go wrong with either, especially if you're in the part of the world too. Here's another thing too. If 90 plus percentage of your coyotes you're shooting under 250, 300 yards, where you just don't have the opportunity to shoot that far, both of those are going to be great. I've killed a handful of coyotes at 500 yards with my 22 arc up to this point, which worked great. That was one of the main reasons I switched from a 223 to the 22 arc for a little bit better down. But I have the opportunity sometimes when we're hunting this big open West country, sometimes you see coyotes out there a long ways and they just don't want to come that far. So you have a chance to try to tag them. But the 22 Creed bolt gun, obviously you have the right the dial on your scope, whatever like that. You knock coyotes down at 700 or 800 yards with that gun, no problem. So I think everybody you kind of just pick your own poison, right? A little bit, everybody has their own way of wanting to do things. And, I wouldn't be so apt just to go jump on, like, I wouldn't go say, oh, I need to go buy a 22 arc just because Geoff shoots that, right? No, it may not work for you. But if you've been shooting an AR for a long time and you've been shooting in a 223 caliber, I guarantee you're going to like the 22 arc, But for you just to run out and buy a 22 arc in the AR when you've been shooting a 22-250 bolt gun or a 22 Creedmoor bolt gun or a 6 Creedmoor bolt gun, you might not be that overwhelmed. You might be kind of like, this wasn't that great, So yeah, everybody's going to have their own liking.
That's why I had Seth on for Hornady a few weeks ago, and we were talking about that, and like he really sold me going down that 22 Creed road. And I guess like I've said before, and I was that old school type mentality, and when I went from the 250, blaming the gun, and it's with thermals just a lot different than it was with a day scope. Like, when you got a good piece of glass, you're picking that hair you're shooting. With a thermal, unless they're real close, it's not You're not as
You're hitting coyotes, right? Yeah, it's not. So yeah, you want a little more room for air.
So that's why I went up to that 6.5, and then since I've started, shooting with those 100-grain ELDVTs, it's like, man, these things, like, you're definitely overpowered. Like, you're blowing the hell out of them, which is cool. But it's like, maybe more I'm learning. It's like, that's why I'm like, yeah, I'd like to go back down to that 22 cal. Then I'm like, well, my mind's open. So it's like, well, if I'm going to switch everything for next year, like, maybe I should try a gas gun. I just never went down that road. So,
yeah, I mean, I would think this. I mean, if you start thinking back at all opportunities, I mean, how many times do you have wadded up coyotes come running into the call? I mean, some guys might experience that more. I mean, you have 2-3 coyotes bombing in at the call at one time. That's where the AR shines, man, because bam, and then, you can swing over, bam, 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 and then swing over here, bam, I can get off twice as many shots, which I might be able to kill all 3 coyotes by the time you're getting to your second or third shot with the bolt gun, right? So yeah, but one thing too about getting, going from like a 6.5 Creedmoor to a 22 Creedmoor for me would be that extra, 300 or 400 feet per second that you're going to get, right? I mean, to me, thermal hunting, you get a coyote at 300 yards. Granted, yeah, some of the pulsars and some of these other scopes all have these reticle, this built-in ballistic profile where it shows you where to hold, stuff like that. But sometimes you don't always have time to hit all that stuff. But the faster the gun is, the flatter shooting it is, and then therefore, out to 300 yards with the 22 Creed, if you have it an inch high at 100, well, you just know yourself, oh, if anything shows up within 300, I'm just holding my reticle right on it, and it's going to smoke it. Whereas you get into the slower calibers, obviously there's going to be more drop, and then, 300, I got to hold it right top of its back. I can't hold it right on it anymore. So to me, that would be the advantage of switching to a 22 Creed over that 6.5 Creed.
Yeah, and that's what I miss about my 250 was when I ran it, I run, I think the 50 grain Superformance is what I ran in it. That thing was near touching 4,000. And when they were out there running, you were just holding it right in front of their chest, more or less, and you were wadding them up.
Yeah.
When I went to that 6.5, it's like, man, I was hitting 5 foot behind them. It's like I had to relearn my leads and all that, but I miss that speed. I miss that just flat shooting out there to 350 yards where, you're just more or less like holding hair. You're just holding the top of the back.
Yep.
They're dropping. So,
yeah, that's important because it happens fast, right? I mean, a lot of times it's not like big game hunt where you don't have all the, sometimes you have time to, but a lot of times, man, the stuff's happening fast and you're just, you're just making split-second decisions and it's like, dang it, I held too high. I should have just held right on it. But if you can have a gun that you don't need to hold high, well, just train yourself to hold hair every time and, you're going to kill them.
Yeah, there's those, I'll say it again, those ELTVTs, man, those things have just flat impressed me. Like, them things hit like a tank. Like, I don't know. It's the close range aspect. Because that's kind of what led me down the road was, man, when you're getting them in within 75, 50 yards, like with those VMAXs, which that's what I've always shot, but they just didn't seem like they were, I was getting the expansion. They were so close. It was moving so fast. And unless you were hitting bone, it was zipping right through them. They'd still die, but they were running out there, 200 yards before they'd fall over. And I've shot a couple with those ELDVTs that close, and it just sounds different. Like that bullet.
Yeah, it's whacking them.
Yeah, I don't know if this is, part of it or what happened, but we shot one. Well, that one that I put that video on where you seen it just blow apart. I drilled that thing right through the shoulder and clear down, between its legs, its guts opened up. Now, I didn't hit it there. It was very obvious I didn't hit it there, but I don't know if that thing just had, you slow it down, you can watch that thing almost balloon up. It's like, I don't know if there's bullet fragments going everywhere, but it's just wicked.
Yeah, that's exactly what they are with these ELDVTs, man. I've seen it multiple times now with coyotes shooting broadside in the shoulder at 100 yards, and they'll have fragmentation out the top of their back, out their neck on the opposite side. I mean, the bullet, just fragments of that bullet are going just crazy angles. Where normally it's kind of, it may open up and you'll get some, some damage straight out the backside, but you're getting weird. That tells me that bullet's hitting and it's, creating massive wound channels. That's what you want, right? Coyotes bleed out pretty quick. And if you create a massive wound channel like that, yeah, it's over pretty quick.
It's in the story. All right.
Are you getting some of those passing through? Like with that 6.5, that big of a bullet, are you like, let's say if you have a broadside coyote at 100 yards, is it blowing a big hole out the backside or some of them not even coming out?
With the VMAX or the VT?
No, with your 6.5 Creedmoor, your 100 VT.
The 100 VTs? No, they're not.
Yeah, is every one of them? They're not even coming out.
No, I haven't.
That's impressive.
I don't have a giant test yet, because I just started running them a few weeks ago. But everyone we've shot with it has not. We shot that one at, he was 30 yards, 40 maybe. And it just, all that energy stayed in him, I think, but it never passed through. Shot one at, the furthest was probably 240, 250, and it wasn't a pass through.
That's impressive because there's no other 100 grain. Yeah. There's no other 100 grain bullet you could probably shoot coyotes with that would stay in a coyote, right? Every other 100 grain bullet's going to be passing through a coyote. And like I tell people, you don't want a bullet, you don't want it passing through. Yeah, it helps you follow a blood trail, but when you keep a bullet inside a coyote, that means 100% of the energy of that bullet went into that coyote. It created that much bigger of a wound channel. The coyote dies that much quicker, right? So that's what's impressive to me is that a 100 grain bullet shooting a broadside coyote at 100 yards does not come out the backside. That's impressive for that big of a bullet.
Yeah, it's doing its job. There's no doubt. When I first got those, and I just set the target up out there at 100 yards just to, recheck it, because they were shooting a little bit higher, actually, which was surprising than my 95s. But just the way it sounded when it was hitting the cardboard, I was like, man, is it just me or it just sounds different? And then hitting coyotes with it. I've heard you say that a lot, and other guys that shoot them, it's like, there's no joke. Like, that thing is just, it's doing its job. It's blowing up because Brandon shot that one with the 95 VMAX, and when he hit just behind the shoulder, so, it was just right through it. And watching that coyote run off, like, talk about watching them bleed out fast. Like in that video, you could see through the thermal. This was blood under pressure because that coyote's in a dead run, and it's the blood's shooting straight up and blowing out there 5-6 feet.
Yeah.
It's like that to me was kind of like the testament of like, man, when these things zip right through them. Like, and plus I will say that was, I think that coyote weighed like 42, 43 pounds, big male. So they're going to be a little tougher, maybe, I don't know. But
yeah.
But like, if we would have been, right next to a CRP field or something, that thing run 200 yards out through there, you're never going to find them. And
oh yeah.
But
yeah, that's impressive. I would challenge anybody or, invite them to say, hey, if you haven't tried out, it's new technology, right? Some people might think it's a gimmick or something like that, but man, it's just like anything else. It is new bullet technology. Well, what they've done with these VMAX and, the VTs. So yeah, man, if they make it in the caliber you're shooting, I think if they shoot well, obviously always the first test for me is get them. Does my gun group them good? Because obviously not every gun's going to group, every gun likes their own bullet, and you may find that these bullets don't group well in your rifle, and that's going to suck. But if they group good in your rifle, I would definitely try them for coyotes, man. I've shot a handful of bobcats with them now. Raccoons, everything with them, and it just all does the same. It just annihilates them, man.
Well, another big thing for me too was like, these 6.5s, those are, $40 a box, $2 a shot. And it's like, if I can even just get half the follow-up shots that I normally would put on them, because it just seems like, I've made quite a few follow-up shots. They're still down, but it's like that thing's laying there, and it's like, I don't want them getting back up, so you make a follow-up shot or whatever. if I can make less,
Yeah, I'll $4 coyote instead of a $2 coyote. Yeah.
right? 'Cause they're not worth crap. So
Yeah. No, that's a good point. That's a good point.
but
Yeah, you hit him in the body with that 6.5 100-grain VT, man. It's like, that. I mean, in every coyote, every bullet, they're still going to run. You're going to have runners, but it's just a matter of, did they run 150 yards or did they run 50 yards? I mean, because I can tell you, with these bullets, they're bleeding out faster, so the chance of them running farther is not great. I mean, so now it's just less time you have to spend looking, like, and still it's still the Indian, not the arrow sometimes. So even if you hit them bad, it's like, okay, I got blood, but then I know, like, you know what, if I follow it for 50 or 75 yards and I don't find the coyote, you know what, it wasn't hit that great, because I know if it was in the body, even the guts, like I've hit running coyotes, like low mid body, right in the guts, and they're still only running like 40, 50 yards, piling up. I mean, it's bleeding them out, even not hitting them great, So yeah, I mean, it's impressive.
yeah, well, that's to me is, I haven't hunted very many contests or any at all this year. Only did a few last year, but that was always a huge thing for me. Was like, that's kind of another reason why I went up in caliber and all that. So you got to have the coyotes. You can have all the video in the world, but the bodies aren't in the back of the truck at check-in. It's
true.
We lost a lot or got second place in a lot of contests where we were just missing one or two short. And we knew we left them out in the field. We just couldn't find them. So,
yep.
That's
a mistake too. I mean, big. And see, that's where this bullet, specifically in the 6.5 Creedmoor, is so impressive. To me, 6.5 Creedmoor is probably too big for a coyote, I think. If somebody told me I would never suggest a 100-grain bullet for coyotes, because like I told you, most 100-grain bullets, even whether it's a VMAX or whatever, is going to punch right through a coyote. So bigger is not always better. But with this new technology, and you're getting this rapid fragmentation that you don't normally get out of a 100-grain bullet. There's no other 100-grain bullets that are made to do this, probably, right?
Yeah,
so
that I know of.
No. So that's what's impressive about that, is you're getting just the extra energy. I mean, obviously a 6.5 Creedmoor has, hitting him with a 100-grain bullet has way more energy, creates even that much bigger of a wound channel than hitting with a 62-grain bullet going, 100 feet per second slower. So yeah, I mean, don't run out and just think because you're contest hunting, you get the biggest gun possible, because you end up getting pass-throughs. But if you match that up with a bullet like that, then you get the results you want.
For sure. All right. Well, we're about ready to, I guess, let you go. Is there, I guess any final thoughts here, or any good news you got coming up, or?
No, man. If you listen to this, keep after it. I think, it gets a little bit tougher right now through January, but like I said, February can be a great time of year, and like I've talked about before, I got the Last Stand Coyote class. I mean, there's probably close to 30 hours of content on there now, between the instructional videos, the exclusive Last Stand episodes, the monthly live member webinars that I do every month. Those are all recorded and put on there. So there's over a year's worth of those on there. Partnership discounts. Yeah. If anybody's been thinking about that, you want to, a lot of the stuff that we talked about early on, just want some more elaboration on that, want a chance to kind of pick my brain one-on-one and things like that, I invite you to go check it out. But I'll offer up a discount code for everybody. I know it's getting kind of close to the end of the season. So, one last push here. Maybe you want to jump on. Obviously, it's a year membership, so you can use it whenever, but just use the promo code Final Howl. Just one word, Final Howl. And that'll get you $75 off that first year membership. And we'll make that good till what? Maybe the 7th of February. I suppose this will come out. That'll give you a week or so to jump on that if you want. So I'll put that in the system. So yeah, if you've been looking forward, here you go. Save you a little money, and you can crush it here for the last couple months of the season.
All right, Geoff. Well, I sure appreciate it. And I strongly encourage anybody to go out and check out the Last Stand class. It's, like Geoff says, it's for everybody. Even if you're thermal hunting here in Indiana or Ohio, Kentucky, and think like, I don't know, like, man, it's well worth it. There's definitely knowledge for you out there, for sure.
Yeah, I think we got members now from, I think, 40 or 42 different states. So yeah, I mean, 3 provinces in Canada. So yeah, I mean, it's universal, right? I mean, like I talked about, no matter where you're hunting, there's some the coyote's the coyote, but it's a matter of taking everything else and putting it in place. So, and coyote's a unique skill set, right? A lot of guys that have deer hunted their whole life, turkey hunted their whole life, and they're trying to get into coyote hunting. They see the Last Stand videos and they see this stuff and they want to do it. It's a whole new learning curve, man. And like I tell people, most of the time, guys just don't have the time that it takes to go learn all this on your own early on, learning the basics and kind of mid-tier stuff, So, yeah, man, this will shave a lot of time off that learning curve. You can figure out a lot of stuff quick, start getting some experience, and you can just expand your hunting that much more. So, yeah, check it out.
The biggest thing to me too, just to add on that one more is don't be afraid to challenge the, status quo. What I've heard you say that, and that's something that's always stuck in my mind. That's why I'm venturing and checking out different new things. Is just because you've been told something, your entire life, like this is the only way to do it, is not necessarily always the case. Like, don't be afraid.
There's lots of ways. Yeah, lots of ways to do it, man. And it's just, I think information is king. So the more information you can have as a coyote hunter, and whether you do things exactly the way I do it or not, I mean, like I said, either way, it's going to make you a better coyote hunter, just taking what you can and molding it to your situation, the way you hunt. Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, we all want to get out there and do a little killing, stacking some coyotes. So
there we go.
That's where it's at.
All righty, Geoff, I appreciate it. And everybody go out and head to the Last Stand and use code the Final Howl and get $75 off and learn to make some good stacks like Geoff. So
yeah, man.
Everybody go out and shoot your guns and make sure you're shooting straight. We'll see ya.